What is up, everyone? OJ here. Welcome to another chat. Today, we've got a superstar in the Pokemon community right here. My man, PhillyBeatzU, has joined me for this nice little chat that we're having. PhillyBeatzU, how are you doing today, sir?
I am doing fantastic, OJ. Thanks for having me on today. I'm really excited about this discussion.
Yes, absolutely. So PhillyBeatzU, for those who don't know, I know a lot of you guys play some more of the traditional RPGs on my channel, but PhillyBeatzU, he is a rising star in the Pokemon scene. Already over 200,000 subscribers, pretty much. I mean, like, as soon as Pokemon Scarlet and Violet came out, like, the ground, like, you hit the ground running. Philly, can you talk about what this game has kind of, like, done for your channel a little bit and, like, what you've used to kind of, like, come up as much as you have, man?
I mean, all right, let's first start off that Pokemon Scarlet and Violet is an open world game. And being an open world game, that's huge in the terms of any video game genre, right? Being open world gives everyone the possibilities to do whatever they want. They can go beat the final gym leader if they want. They can do other options in the game. They can fight Pokemon, catch high-level Pokemon. So having all those options just for content creators alone gives you so many ways to come up with content. It's almost like the Elden Ring phenomenon where like that game was open world and so many rising stars came out. Open world just gives anyone their own take on a game, and making your own story is a big thing. And I was able to make my own story in terms of becoming a great YouTuber in terms of Scarlet and Violet and blowing up the channel and bringing in my own takes to the game. And I think that's the fun part about the game. Anyone can do it.
Absolutely. I think that removing some of those restrictions, like before in the past, it's been, we saw it a little bit with, like, let's say Pokemon Sword and Shield, right? You had like the hub area, but it was still kind of a hub area. Then you have those connected routes. So it wasn't quite what this game was doing. You saw stuff like Pokemon, what was it? Legends, Arceus, which kind of, opened things up a little bit more, but it was still segmented by the areas. But this one completely removes those barriers. So for content creators like yourself, it's easy to kind of, or more like easier to kind of go in and say, hey, look at all this stuff that you can do. You still have all, like, I know for you what's big is like the shiny hunting. So can you real quick explain to the audience that maybe does not understand this? And I don't quite understand it myself because I think I've seen like 3 shinies in my life in my own game. So what is the phenomenon behind shiny hunting and why is it so popular?
Listen, the moment you see, let's just say you're used to seeing the color blue. Blue dots pop out on your screen all the time. And then for some reason, one day you see a red dot show up and that doesn't make any sense to you. Like, wow, this is different, right? The moment you see that, like, I've never seen this before. This is amazing. You run up to it and then it sparkles. And you're like, whoa, what is that? It's the dopamine rush. It's that addiction of dopamine that gets to people, that excites them, right? And then that's where the addiction starts for anybody. Usually people will look at it and be like, what's the big deal, man? It's just a different color. No, when you experience it for the first time, it's phenomenal.
Okay. Because I remember experiencing it. I think it was like a Golbat back in the day, and I was like, that Golbat looks a little funny. I was like, and then I killed it. And then I killed it on accident.
Here's the worst part about shiny hunting for me. I played, Ruby, Alpha, Sapphire, and then I took a little break after that, and then jumped into the 3DS days. So to me, I didn't know what a Pawniard was. Right? So I'm like, I bumped into it. It was a blue, an X and Y, and it sparkled. And I'm like, wow, I guess steel types will shine when you see them on the 3DS. Man! Worst mistake ever. That was like, after I came back, I saw them in red. I'm like, oh. And then I looked it up, and I'm like, oh. So that's how I found my first shiny in my life. Worst, it was horrible.
Was it the 3DS's graphics were just really hitting you at that time,
I was like,
right?
Wow, man, they sparkle when they're metallic. This is amazing. Yeah, so that was how I entered the shiny hunting scene right there.
You know what? Yeah, man, and it's interesting, and we're gonna get into the Pokemon Scarlet and Violet talk, but I do want to ask, because I know you've probably answered it a number of times on your own channel, but what do you feel outside of Pokemon and Scarlet and Violet? What do you feel was like the most monumental Pokemon game for you personally?
I think Arceus.
Okay, Arceus, nice.
Arceus.
Okay.
Yeah, it's just the fact that you had consequences for your actions. Like, I'm jumping off a cliff, dude. I'm dead. Like, it's gonna restart me at a spawn point. Like, in a real Pokemon world, if I run up to a Gyarados, that thing's going to look at me and run at me. It's not going to be passive and like, catch me. That thing's an aggressive Pokemon. I think Arceus really brought out the, wow, if wild Pokemon were real, this is terrifying. And I think that was the first time, I call it, it's like the Pokemon Dark Souls. You know what I mean? That was the first time Pokemon felt a lot more realistic in terms of I can throw my Pokeballs at them. They can come at me. I don't know what's going to happen. So there was a lot of mystery in that game. And I think that resonated with me so well as a modern game. That broke a lot of barriers. So
absolutely. I mean, I think that for me, Arceus was definitely like my favorite Pokemon like single player experience since probably like maybe Black and White or like Diamond and Pearl for me. It was a while before I experienced something like that. So I have to 100% agree with you on that take, man, because Arceus just brought so many cool things to the table and almost like yo, they can do two. They can do art, and that can turn into its own whole brand of games, man. The sky's the limit for that brand, the Legends line. I mean, there's so many different regions they can go back to. What would you feel, sorry, now that we're in this real quick, what would you feel is next? Because I'm pretty sure they're going to work on another Legends game. They have to, considering how well it's sold.
We need Gen 5 love. I know it's a crazy. So real quick about Gen 5. The fact that Gen 5 came out, it was a bunch of new Pokemon. People didn't appreciate it at the time because they didn't feel the nostalgia hit because they didn't see their old Pokemon. It was a whole new game. Now Pokemon fans would do anything to experience that many new Pokemon, not seeing anything old, right? And seeing stuff like that. And I feel there's so much lore behind Gen 5. Gen 5 wasn't really appreciated for the way it was presented at the time. And I think Gen 5 needs to get a shot again. And a Legends game giving the backstory of some of the mons from back in the day would be huge.
Yeah.
Huge.
That would be great. It almost feels like it's like the Majora's Mask, maybe, of the Pokemon. Yes. You know, it's like people didn't appreciate it when it came out. They didn't realize how good it was. Even story-wise, they didn't realize how good it was. And then years later, like, wait a minute, hold up. This is actually incredible. This is a really unique.
It's great.
Yeah, it's fantastic. Black and White. I mean, Black and White 2. They're both. I mean, I loved Gen 5. I thought it was good. I just think that we were kind of getting them so regularly, and I think people just didn't appreciate it at the time. Because I remember Diamond and Pearl was like 2007, so I was already old at that point. I was already getting kind of old. I remember going and picking it up from work or taking the day off from work to go get it, and then Black and White wasn't too long after. And I think the reason why, real quick on this one, the reason why people didn't appreciate it is because it came out right before the 3DS, so people were upset that it wasn't 3DS. Like, and they had to put out I remember they had to put out a statement saying, hey, well, you can still play it on your 3DS. It's backwards compatible. But, whereas people were like, when X and Y came out, I just remember like the hype for that was just so much more for X and Y. Even though Black and White might be a lot better than X and Y. I mean, looking back, I mean, X and Y is not bad. But Black and White is probably maybe a little bit better for a lot of Pokemon fans. So I think that's maybe the reason why, because everyone was just ready for 3DS Pokemon at that time.
Like the fact that you can walk into a Pokemon game and anything you bump into, you don't even know what it is. That is cool. I would love an experience like that again, where everything is just new. I don't recognize one Pokemon on my Route 1. Just everything is like, what is happening? We need that again. I feel like we need that again.
Yeah, absolutely. I feel that maybe for like a lot of younger Pokemon fans, that's their Pokemon Scarlet and Violet. Like, they see their friends play it, and that's why it keeps on selling and all that. And they see their friends play it, they see everyone, and they're like, what is that? What is that? What is that?
Yeah.
So I mean, cool. Shout outs to the new Pokemon that they put in there. But speaking of Pokemon Scarlet and Violet, let's talk about that, because this game, ooh, man, it started not even a blaze. What is it? Fire? What's the biggest fire move in the game now? Firestorm?
Firestorm, Inferno? I don't know.
Inferno? It started in Inferno with the sales. First and foremost, 10 million plus in like 3 days. It shattered every single record Nintendo's ever put up. It's looking like this game could be a Pokemon Red, Blue type of situation where it could be 30 million plus when it's all said and done. Maybe even more, considering how games like Mario Kart 8 and Animal Crossing have sold on the Nintendo Switch. Heck, even games like Legend of Zelda is 30 million. And so, I mean, it's looking like this game's going to blow past 30 million, depending on how long they support it and stuff. So, just real quick, what do you think about the impact of Pokemon Scarlet and Violet, just first and foremost, before we get into some of the other things with the Inferno that it started?
I mean, listen, Pokemon alone is the biggest brand in the world, right? Pokemon, it sells like crazy, but the fact that this game has captured so many non-Pokemon fans, and I'll tell you this, making content on YouTube has actually allowed me to see how many new people are there. For example, if I was to tell someone, here's how to do the Masuda method, which is when you take a foreign Pokemon and you take it with a normal Pokemon, you breed them together, you have a higher chance of a shiny. Many people usually would critique my video and say, bro, we know that already, right? But for the first time, comments after comments, I never knew this. Thank you so much. And I'm just like, I've never seen this many people saying thank you, or someone mocks my video in terms of saying, I know this, bro. We don't need this information. There will be 25 comments saying, I didn't know that.
Yeah.
I didn't know that. So Pokemon Scarlet and Violet has reached beyond the Pokemon sphere of people, and everyone just wants to try this out. What's this open world game that everyone's talking about? This looks a lot cooler for people. So I feel that this Pokemon game has definitely made an impact on other people trying it out, wanting to see what it is. And like I said, open world is just, it's where games gotta go almost now to get an amazing experience and your own experience and do things.
Yeah, and I think that, with this game, it feels like this was supposed to be here a while ago. And I think that's one of the reasons why it feels like, because like when you watch this TV series, right? Ash didn't, he went on routes and stuff, but it was like a whole open type of deal, right? It was always seemed like limitations of the hardware with the, Game Boy and all that. They did the best they could, when it comes down to, those games were massive. So it always felt like a little pocket-sized open world game, but never a real actual one. So when they actually started doing the hub area and then the Legends and then now this, it was just the natural progression that maybe we should have had a while ago. But I'm happy that it's here at this point. But
see,
go ahead.
I see the problem with the Pokemon fandom is that for a Pokemon game, this is the problem. We lock ourselves in and say, for a Pokemon game, this is absolutely amazing, and I'm so happy we have progress. But as someone, if you remove yourself from the Pokemon community, really look at where your game state is, where Pokemon's really behind.
Oh yeah,
it is really behind.
Absolutely.
But, so I feel like that's where the big controversies start hitting each other, where Pokemon fans are like, nah, this is great, and the outside hits them and say, no, it could be so much better. And yeah, it can be better. It can be better. But you know what? It's just the fact that Pokemon is just such a fun game. Even if they gave us a 3DS looking game, we'd still be playing that. It's just that fun. Yeah, we were. We just were.
It wasn't too late. Sword and Shield, it was okay, but it was, it wasn't, it was better than 3DS in a lot of areas, but obviously it didn't take the leap that maybe some would have wanted with the graphics. But I'm speaking of some of with the outside audience and where it could be better. Scarlet and Violet, obviously great game and everything, but there was a lot of issues at launch, man. There was the frame rate, right? There was some people complaining about some of the glitches and the bugs. Yeah. I know you've played the game, so you've probably encountered a few here and there. So what is your take on the frame rate and the performance? And do you think, because remember, this is the first time that we've ever seen Nintendo come out and actually, I've never heard them say, hey, we're going, we hear you guys on performance. They never talk about performance, even if it's in their favor. Smash Brothers 60 frames per second. They never mentioned 60 frames per second. Splatoon 60 frames per, they never mentioned it. Skyward Sword, they doubled their frame rate and said enhanced frame rate, and then it was a 3-second clip in their thing. So they never talk about this, whether it's good or it's bad. So they came out and said something. What is your take on this in terms of the frame rate and the performance and how it affects the game? And what do you think they're going to do since they've addressed it and said, hey, they're going to work on it?
So when I saw that, I was shocked because, like you said, we'd never seen Nintendo just come out and say that. And I think it's the fact that the game just sold so well and that many eyes are now on Pokemon and Nintendo versus the small crowd complaining about a tree in in Sword and Shield. Now you got outsiders, game articles. They're all talking about why is the performance so bad for a Pokemon game now? This is 2022, 2023, and our Pokemon game shouldn't be looking like this. We shouldn't be walking up to a lake area and then all the frames just plummet. I shouldn't be walking to a forest and then my game slows down. The crazy part is people just started discovering this when they made a sandwich in the game, which was 30 minutes, and they took a real-life timer and timed it, and the sandwich was slower than the real time because the frames were so bad.
Oh, no.
Yeah, so people were like, why? Why is it like this? I know there's arguments about, it's the Switch holding it back, but the crazy part is the way it was met. I feel like when they were performing on this game and optimizing the game, it wasn't looking like that from their end. They were obviously optimizing this for better software. So to me, I'm very confused why on earth it ended up being like this, and why do some people have to enhance their Switch or do other things in order to burst up the frame rate, right? So is it because we're getting closer to a new console? I don't know. I don't know. Because I know Zelda's the last big shot game coming out.
Yeah.
For now that I know of.
Yeah, you got Zelda, you got Metroid Prime 4, there's Pikmin 4, obviously those aren't as big as Zelda though.
Zelda.
Yeah.
But I feel like we're running really close to the end of the Switch, but
absolutely. It's definitely, this is probably the last full year of it, you know. And yeah, obviously I think that a company like Game Freak could use some stronger hardware, you know, but at the same time I'm also looking at it, I'm thinking, man, I play games like, you know, I'm a big Xenoblade fan. That's like my favorite franchise or one of them.
Love it.
And I'm like, look at Xenoblade 3, you know.
I know, dude, it's such a beautiful game. I look in the distance in Xenoblade, I can see things in the background without them rendering out and rendering it. It's just done so well.
Yeah. It's done incredibly well. You look at even like Breath of the Wild at the launch, you know, it had a few issues here and there, but it was definitely much better in terms of how it looked and performed. So what do you, when do you feel that this performance patch is actually going to come out, you know, or when do you feel they're going to?
So I feel they're going to just, so they said Pokemon Home is coming out in the spring, right? So we have that coming out. I know we have DLC plans. They've talked about this. Last time for Sword and Shield, they announced it around January, I think, for Sword and Shield. And that was shocking. I didn't even know that game was getting a DLC. So I feel like as they're announcing all these things and they're implementing them and releasing them, they're going to just batch them all together and shoot them out. Versus like, hey, we're just going to update. We're just going to keep updating. Because they know they're going to get more sales again as the DLC approaches or something like that happens. And I feel that's their best time to swoop in the patch and optimize things better and better over time. Like I said, the game still can be fixed via patches and updates. That's the cool part about this, which it's not like the game is doomed in terms of always looking and performing the way it is. So they do have their ways of fixing this game.
Do you feel that it's going to be a significant fix to where it's going to make a big difference in the game, or do you feel it's just going to be something minor?
I think that's based on people's perspective. I feel like that's the best way to put it. If we're staring at the game and we're like, okay, we're gonna stare at this and see if these updates fix performance, I feel like we're not gonna notice it too much. I feel the average player who comes on will be like, huh, you know, this force isn't as laggy as it was. That's it. That's as far as they're gonna go. They won't go on the internet and write an essay about the frames have improved so much by like 20%. You know, but I think it'll make a difference in terms of players who have played it will start to notice, hey, it's a little more optimized. I think that's what we'll start to reach with this game. Listen, my biggest optimization I need for this game is I would like to load a Pokemon box without it loading by each, like, please fix my boxes. I had to color coordinate my boxes so I know where to go. That's like crazy.
Yeah, I was wondering about that for guys like you. I'm like, man, people that are doing all these videos and they have to go through and all these different, catching all these Pokemon and shinies and stuff like that, you guys probably have to go through hell, you know, with these loading back and forth, man. Yeah, I mean, oh gosh, I bet, you know, and when it comes to the DLC, so do you feel that there's going to be DLC this year?
Yes.
Okay, 100%.
I definitely feel there's DLC this year.
Okay, and do you, what do you feel that DLC is going to consist of?
I think we're going to get more. In the post game, without growing crazy spoilers, there are books in the game that show things that have not been seen in the game. There are Pokemon that haven't been seen. There are talks about the third legendary that have not been seen. We still don't know what those faces on the Terra crystals. So many things have not been talked about. So there is a big mystery leading into this DLC. We can see it on the map. We can see the space they dotted out for it. You can look at various things. You know this place is right next to Kalos, which is Gen 6. Everyone knows where this is. We have Paldea, we have Kalos, we have this empty spot right there. Like, so guaranteed we know it's happening. We know there's a DLC. We know it's somehow connected. Maybe it's not going to Kalos, but there's somewhat a Kalos influence on this game because we have more Gen 6 Pokemon finally showing up in this game. So
okay. And does Ash show up? Ash and Gary.
I wish. I don't know. It's possible. They had a Gary silhouette on one of the Pokemon centers that were flying by. So maybe they're gonna bring back challenging these OP champions like they did in Sun and Moon. Sun and Moon did that really awesome thing, and I was like, whoa, that was dope.
That was actually really hype. I mean, Sun and Moon, I like it, but it's not my favorite, but I do like it. But when I saw that, I was like, okay, I gotta play.
Yeah, that was cool. I'm like, dude, Red is here?
Yeah.
And they're grown up.
Yeah, and they're grown up. To see them older, it's like, yo, I'm so used to Ash. Like, obviously, it's Red, but, you know, but I'm just so used to those characters from them just always being younger. And then to see them like that, it was like, okay, this is
They became us. They became like, what are these kids shit's up to down here in Sun and Moon. Let me go battle them.
Man, it was great, man. So, you know what? Hey, Philly, thank you so much for joining me today, man. I really do appreciate it. If you can let everybody know where they can find you at, I'll have the links in the description, but let everybody know where they can find you at and maybe what you're working on coming up here.
All right, so you can find me at PhillyBeatzU, just PhillyBeatz with a U. Yeah, we're working on projects like a VGC. I'm going to compete in a VGC project and try to go to a regionals for the first time. So we're going to do some fun long-form content, experiment a little bit with things that have not been done. Yeah, we're just going to keep talking about things that are coming out in the game and cover the best we can and make it as fun for people who are playing for the first time.
All right, awesome, man. Yo, Philly, seriously, thank you so much for joining me, man. Make sure you guys check out his channel. Once again, rising star here on YouTube, over 200,000 subscribers. Dude's doing some awesome things, has a great attitude, really nice guy, one of the best people I know, seriously, honestly. Like, PhillyBeatzU is awesome.
Thank you, man.
Yeah, absolutely. No, this guy's, you were so nice to me on Twitter. I mean, I think we didn't really talk at all, and then all of a sudden, I forgot what post it was. You made a post that I think it was somewhat controversial. It was like some type of post. It was about something, and I was like, okay, yeah, I kind of feel what he's saying right then. I remember responding to you, were super nice back to me, followed me. I was like, all right, this guy's, and I've heard about you before, even before then. I'd seen some of your videos on Pokemon and other things, so I was like, okay, yeah, I know this. Let me go and follow. This guy seems cool. So, and yeah, I think you're the homie now, man. In my opinion, the fact that you actually took some time out of your day, dude. So, thank you so much for joining me today, man. Absolutely. All right, guys. So that's going to wrap it up for this one here. Once again, thank you, Philly, for joining me, and we will see you guys for the next chat.